Hi friends, welcome back. Today we're talking about histograms. Histograms are a great way to organize data. So we're going to take this data and we're going to put it into a nice pretty picture that is able to demonstrate data, like organize it so that people can read it and interpret it. Let's start by this. The first thing you're going to do is we're going to make a histogram out of the following data. Here we have a bunch of shoe size that are listed out. Personally, I think it's a lot easier when I'm dealing with data to put it into numerical order. So I want to put my smallest to my largest. If you'd like to pause and do that on your notes now, you can. Otherwise, here we go. Did that for you. So putting them in order from least to greatest, I have these as the following. So I want to do a histogram so you can see how we would organize this. Looking at my histogram here, the hardest part is generally deciding what your scales are going to be here on the bottom here. Now this is the shoe size, and this is what we call the frequency, or the number of times it occurs. Frequency, it is not spelling tutoring, it's math, or spelling class, it's math. I'm so sorry if I spell things wrong. Okay, spell check has just destroyed me. All right, so we look at this and we see 6.5, 6.5. That's gonna fall in between 6.5 and 7, and there are two of them. So there's two of those guys. Then for 7, between 7 and 8, I have 7 and 7.5. Between 8 and 9, I have just all these 8s. Between 9 and 10, I have these guys. Between 10 and 11, I have this. And then I have 13 out here, this little outlier, I guess. So for the 6.5, from 6 to 7, we have 2. So I'm going to put that right here, and we color it in. Then from 7 to 8, I have 3 of these. So go right up to here and color this in. Now, how does this make it different from a box graph? Well, on a box, or like on a box graph or a bar graph, I should say, you have spaces in between your pieces of data, right? There's like a bar and then a space, bar and then a space. In a histogram, these bars are all going to be touching. So let's look between 8 and 9. I have 3. Then between 9 and 10, I have 4. 10 and 10, I have 2. Between 10 and 11, I have 2. And then 13, I have 1. Between 13 and 14, I have 1. Okay, so what is neat about this is we can organize our data so that you can see it. But the problem with organizing your data this way, there's always some benefits and some problems, is, for example, between 7 and 8, I don't know how many are 7s, 7.5s, 7.75, if that was a size. So these, I just know that there are 3 that fall between 7 and 8 that are either 7 all the way up to 8. So it can be a little bit confusing because if you were given just this chart without this information at the top, you wouldn't be able to determine that information. Let's try another one, because this one, the way I have this set up is 6 to 7, 7 to 8. You can also organize this data in a slightly different manner. So you may see it organized this way as well. All right, so looking at this, we're going to create a histogram for the following data. We have a bunch of test scores here. The first thing I think is helpful is to put it all into numerical order. So I've gone ahead and done that for you. Next, we have to figure out a scale for our graph. Now, our x-axis, the bottom one, is going to be our scale. That's what we have to figure out. And then our y is our frequency. So looking here, I see 51 is my smallest and 98 is my largest. So I think if I go between 50 and 100 and maybe go by tens, that would be pretty, that's like 5 pieces of, like 5 rows of data. And so you can see that's what I've elected to do down here. And I've written this slightly different than we did before, in that I said 50 to 59 and then 60 to 69, as opposed to saying, hey, this is 50, this is 60, this is 70. I'm being more explicit about what is in between each column. So if we go, and I should lightly draw some pencil marks, I think that will help. Because this data does not have to, or this drawing does not have to be perfect, as long as you're making an attempt to make it look organized. Probably the most important part of your histogram is just making sure that you have a decent scale, and that's this bottom bit down here, that it looks nice and it captures all your information. So like I said, we've got 50, all of the 50s, all of the 60s. So if I come back here, here are my 50s, here are my 60s, here are my 70s, 80s, and 90s. Again, this data is like nicely distributed in that my 50s, I have 2 of them. My 60s, I have 2. And then for my 70s, I have 3. Good thing I'm going to be coloring that in. Notice I used 2 lines for each of these, right? So we color all this in, color this guy in, color that guy in. And then for my 80s, I had 3 as well. And then for my 90s, I had 3. And then for my hundreds, I didn't have any. So this is just a nice way to organize that data. But again, the reason I showed you this is because this is not a helpful way if you are provided a histogram and you see, okay, we have 2 test scores that are between 50 and 59. We don't know what those test scores are. They could be 50, they could both be 50, they could both be 59. You don't know unless you're provided the data. So this is just a good way to visualize data. Now, another good way to visualize data is to talk about dot plots. Dot plots look like this. Okay, well, not like this quite yet. So this, here I'm provided a shoe size. That is really small font. I'm very sorry about that. The first thing that I want to do is organize my data so that I know how to plot this out. So what I'm going to do is do a frequency table, which shows, oh, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Ignore this top part. We're going to do size, and then we're going to do frequency. I mixed those up by mistake, sorry. Okay, so organizing this data, it looks like I see a 6. I don't see anything smaller than a 6 or larger than a 10. So I'm going to say 6, 7, and I don't see any half sizes or anything like that. So 8, 9, and 10. The frog in my throat is unhappy. Okay. Oh, look at that poorly drawn table. Sorry. So if I go through here and I count these out, I say, okay, this is 1, 6. Good. So I have 1, 6. And I just don't want to make a mistake as I'm going through this. So, okay. And then looking at my 7s, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 7s. And then for my 8s, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 8s. And then for my 9s, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 9s, and 10s. I have 1, 2, and 3 10s. Okay, now that I have this information, it's going to make my dot plot a little bit easier to plot out here. So I'm going from 6 to 10. So my dot plot will look something like this. I think it's good. I don't need this calculator here to use different colors, so we're going to do that. Helps me keep the paper in the screen. And actually, now that we're covered up with those sides, I can back up a little bit. So if I draw a dot plot, it would look like this, and I want to do 6 through 10. So 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now the frequency of 6 occurring is just 1. 7 is 5, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. For 8, I have 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. For 9, I have 8, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can sometimes do this, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that way, if you have more data, you can visualize it that way. And then for 10, I have 3. And that is all there is to a dot plot. Hopefully that helps. We can do another one here too, because I think that this is important. So let's do one more example so you can see how that works. Okay. So for this guy, we have men's height in inches, and I've gone ahead and organized the data for you in order just like this. Now, again, it's important that you look your range. Your range is your smallest and to your largest minus your smallest. So our range here is our minimum is 61, our maximum is 75. So I've gone ahead and drawn my graph here. I want to go from at least 60 up through 80. So I say it's 61, okay, that is 1. 63, so 1, 2, 3. 65, I have 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. 67, I have 2. 68, I have 3. 3. 70, I have 1, 2, 3. 72, I have 1, 2, 3. 73, I have 1, 2, 3. 74, I have 1, 2, 3. 75, I have 1, 2, 3. 76, I have 1, 2, 3. 77, I have 1, 2, 3. 78, I have 1, 2, 3. 79, I have 1, 2, 3. 80, I have 1, 2, 3. 81, I have 1, 2, 3. 82, I have 1, 2, 3. 83, I have 1, 2, 3. 84, I have 1, 2, 3. 85, I have 1, 2, 3. 86, I have 1, 2, 3. 87, I have 1, 2, 3. 88, I have 1, 2, 3. 89, I have 1, 2, 3. 90, I have 1, 2, 3. 91, I have 1, 2, 3. 92, I have 1, 2, 3. 93, I have 1, 2, 3. 94, I have 1, 2, 3. 95, I have 1, 2, 3. 96, I have 1, 2, 3. 97, I have 1, 2, 3. 98, I have 1, 2, 3. 99, I have 1 73, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Woo. Okay. So that's 73. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then for 75, I have 1. So there we go. We have just organized that data into a dot plot. Hopefully that helps, and we'll see you next time.